and welcome to Shrisa Holistic Wellness Channel. I'm your friend and host, Shetal Upadhyay. If you're looking to transform your space with a fresh coat of paint, you're in the right place. Today, I would like to introduce to you Mark Potts. He's the owner of Certa Pro Painters. To get the inside scoop on what makes a great paint job and how they can bring quality and precision to every project is what we're going to be talking to Mark about today. So whether you're thinking about a home makeover or a commercial refresh, Mark is here to share expert tips and insights to help you get the best results. So let's dive in. Hi, Marker, and welcome to my YouTube channel.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm super excited about this.
Awesome, awesome. It's great to have you. And so we'll start first with the introduction and the journey of you and how you got into this world of painting and, what inspired you?
Sure. So I returned to the painting world. I had a painting business. Me and my brother had a business in college where we painted houses in the summer. And after school, I got a job in accounting, working in corporate America. I did that for about 20 years. And then when my son turned 11, we decided that the best place for him to go to school is in Austin, Texas. So he goes to this Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. And my wife and I became empty nesters. And that's when I started thinking about, hey, maybe it's time for a career change. Started looking at buying businesses or joining a franchise and started working with a franchise broker. And we looked at a bunch of businesses. My wife helped me out. Her name's Amy. And Amy was the one that said, hey, you have a great background with painting already with your accounting background. You should be able to run a business. And collectively, we decided that CertaPro was the way to go. CertaPro is a franchise. We've been in business for 35 years. There's about 250 locations throughout the United States. And we've been working in Fort Bend for about 20 years.
Awesome, great. That's great. So in the world of real estate, first impressions are key. So how can the right paint colors and finishes impact a home's market value? And how does it appeal to potential buyers?
Sure. So interesting. I always say that it takes, or I've read that it takes 7 seconds for somebody to make a first impression. So if you have a client, you want them as soon as they get out of the car to be looking at that house and be excited about that house. So the first thing that I tell people to do is go ahead and wash the outside of the home. Make sure there's no mold and mildew on the home. Uh, Pressure wash the driveway, the walkway, the sidewalks. If there's any carpentry to do outside, get that taken care of. You don't want them to look up and see a hole in your eave and see squirrels coming in and out. That just doesn't work.
Mhm.
And then when you get inside, you really want the foyer to pop. You want the kitchen to pop and you want the master bedroom to pop. Those are kind of the three areas that I tell people to focus on. Color wise, I like to use light colors because I think it brings light into the house and it also makes the home feel a little bit bigger, maybe. And then when it comes to kitchens, a lot of people are looking for updated cabinets. And to go out and buy new cabinets will run you anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000, and we paint them for a lot less than that, between 3 and 5,000.
Okay, so that's great because say if somebody is looking to stage the home to sell and they don't have a lot of cash on hand to replace cabinets, or even if and if anybody just looking to update and upgrade and not have the extra cash, so what do you think, or what are the like choice of paint colors that are appealing? They're more neutral and they create an inviting atmosphere.
So you want to take into consideration the furnishings and the flooring in the house because you don't want to get too far away from the current look that's in there. But colors, like I said, I like light colors. I like the whites and the grays and the light tans. Right now, we're seeing that the whites and the grays are very popular. People are even going white on white. And a moment ago, you talked about typically, you don't want to put too much money into a house if you're selling it. But I've heard that you get anywhere from 7 to 10 times the return on investment. So if you spend $5,000 painting a house, you would expect to get 35 to 50,000 extra on top of the sale, what you were going to sell it for. So it's a really budget friendly way to really make the house more valuable. And I always sometimes feel bad for people that they get the house painted and then they kind of have regrets about putting it up for sale because they had been living they had been living in their house and not really happy with the way it looked for years before they decided to sell. And had they painted, maybe they wouldn't have sold their homes. But we'll keep that secret because I know realtors don't want that to happen, right?
Of course not. Yeah. And then it's kind of interesting that you say that, a little bit of paint goes a long way, right? That makes you decide whether you want to sell or you don't want to sell, right? So that leads me to my next question. So as an expert in painting, how do you collaborate with interior designs to choose the right palette for any room or space? You did mention, earlier with the kitchen and the living room. So what factors do you consider in terms of lighting, room size, and functionality?
Well, if I've got an interior designer in the room, then I just step back and I let them tell me what to do. I will try to give advice, especially if somebody's trying to sell their house. Interior designers like to go with really bold colors, bold looks, and sometimes it's better to be neutral if somebody's selling their home. But yeah, I mean, they're the experts. They know way more about color and functionality and the way. Gosh, if you want to talk about lighting, there are people that are experts in different type of light bulbs and LEDs, and that can really make a big difference to what the final product looks like if you do decide to paint. So always, when we have an interior designer, they're going to take all that stuff into consideration.
Okay, so it does make a difference. The lighting makes a big difference in how paint appears. Dark versus natural light, or even artificial light, correct?
That's correct. And then also, if you're selling the house, you don't want any clutter in the house. That's the other big thing that you got to move stuff out and go without some things for a little bit.
Perfect, perfect. So we did speak in terms of the different colors and how the buyers would look at it. Clutter-free home is important, right? So is there a particular psychology that you've noticed when you are, working with either someone that's selling their home or, a buyers just recently bought a home that they have this way of, okay, this is the colors that we want. Is there like one particular color that's more prominent out there than the other?
Well, there's a whole field about the psychology of color and the different feelings and emotions that are evoked by color. So red is, a really aggressive color. Green would bring you closer to nature. Blue would, make you calm. Yellow is a happy color. Um, but when you're selling a house, typically you want neutral. So you don't want to have necessarily all those fun colors. You want to stick with your whites and your grays and your tans. The other thing we've mostly been talking about interior work. Also, sometimes you consider painting your exterior as well. If you have mold growing on the house, that means that it's time to get a new paint job, and an inspector might pick that up if they see that the paint is deteriorating. So when it comes to painting your exterior, the very first thing you have to take into account is, am I in an HOA and what are their approved colors? So that's the first thing. Secondly, you don't want your house to be too different from what's in your neighborhood currently. You don't want to stand out too much. And another, along with painting cabinets, another thing that can really set your house apart from some other houses is if you have brick, thinking about lime washing or painting that brick. It's very popular right now, that kind of stark white against maybe a dark black on the trim, or dark blue or even grays. You know, those are really popular right now, and that's what young buyers are looking for these days.
Okay, all right, perfect. That's great knowledge. Thank you. So when we look at trends versus timeless choices, how do you balance the current paint colors with timeless choices, that may appear to like wider range of people, particularly when we're looking at real estate to attract buyers? I know you mentioned neutrals, grays, whites, right? But like particular, like if you're looking at, you mentioned it, exteriors. Is that something just for younger generations, or is it something like just different variety of clients? That's the way they want the trim to look like, or the black trim.
So something to keep in mind is that trends are short term, right? Trends don't last forever, and these timeless colors kind of stick around. So I would say first off, when you're thinking about your exterior, the timeless colors, that's your friend, and that's what, particularly if you're an HOA, those are the only kind of colors that are going to be approved. They're not going to let you get too out there. And then when I'm thinking about interior, if I'm thinking about a trend, if there's some colors you like, if you really like red, consider a couple of accent walls maybe, or consider just one or two rooms. But don't go too crazy with it, because you're not trying to sell your house with your taste. You're just trying to sell your house, right? And so you really want that house to be attractive to buyers.
So, Mark, in your experience, has it ever happened that you go in in a seller's home, right, and you have to like do the entire paint job, like from exterior to interior, the whole house? Has that ever happened to you before?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And and that when you do that, if you can explain a little bit of how does the color work? Say somebody has the red wall, right? And you have to go and you have to convert that into a neutral tone, right? What is the requirement? What process does it take to get that red out?
Sure. So when it comes to red or other really dark colors, if you're putting a light color on top of a dark color, you typically put a primer on before. And what primers do is they block stains, and then you apply 2 coats of paint. So our process at CertaPro is we come in and we measure every room in the house, and we give you a detailed estimate, and it lists all of the different each room, each item that we're painting in each room, the type of paint we're going to use, and the number of coats. Another thing to consider when you're thinking about painting is color's the first one that we think about. And typically, if you're selling a house, you want something neutral. If you want something trendy, maybe consider an accent wall. But if we want to paint over those accent walls, we'll prime them. We consider, the colors that we talk about, typically neutral. The second thing we talk about is sheen. And sheen is how much reflection there is off the surface of the paint. And a lot of homes, especially if they're new build homes, they have flat paint. Flat paint is great. It's easy to touch up. But if you really want to bring more light into house, you should maybe consider eggshell or a satin finish. So those have just a little bit of reflective properties. So when the light hits them, you get more light coming into the room. And then wall paint and ceiling paint is different from the paint that you use for cabinets and for trim. And for those paints, you use something that's a little tougher and hardier, and something that has a higher gloss. So typically you use a urethane, and they dry a little bit harder than what is on a wall, because people brush against doors and door frames, or their brooms hit their baseboards. So you need something a little more hardy than wall paint. And we typically go with a semi-gloss or a gloss for that. Makes it easier to clean.
Yeah, well, great. That's a lot of great information that you just provided. I'm sure my viewers are going to really, really enjoy listening to this. But if my viewers wanted to get in touch with you, or anyone that wanted to get in touch with you, how can they contact you?
Sure. Our phone number is 281-888-6238. You can also just any search engine type in CertaPro Painters, and it's going to bring up the nearest CertaPro Painters to you. I am at Missouri City, so I have a territory that consists of 5 zip codes here in Fort Bend County, and I've been in business personally for 5 years and have loved every minute of it.
Awesome, great. Well, thank you so much for all the great information that you provided and your time, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.